So I believe it is my responsibility night in, night out to use actual information that's given to me and give it to you guys, whether it be from highlights, stats, scores, standings, all that great stuff. It is my responsibility night in, night out to watch what you're unable to watch. People got a lot of things going on. People got careers. This is my career. So it's my responsibility to be the most informed version of myself as possible. And then since I watch so much of this product, I'm able to use my eye test and tell you different things about trends with certain players and certain teams and coaching staffs and all that great stuff. But it's all based off of my unbiased eye test and the information given. I'm about to turn 27 in less than 24 hours. You know, it is an absolute pleasure to be able to come on this camera day in, day out and talk the game of basketball with you guys. And more importantly, if I don't come on camera every day, you for darn certain get highlights from me every morning when you wake up. You got however many games. I try to do 80 to 90% of the highlights for that night's action. Sometimes I do 100%. I'm in love with the game of basketball. I'm in love with what I do. And if you want me to be brutally honest with you, this job doesn't even pay a crap ton right now. I'm doing a lot of this off the pure passion and love and where I know this platform is going. You see, as a child, I didn't look up to YouTubers. I didn't look up to sports debaters. I looked up to Stuart Scott. He's where I got all those silly catchphrases like booyah, cool as the other side of the pillow. It's the Stuart Scott influence. God rest his dead. I even had the pleasure of working at ESPN, but I missed Stuart Scott by about a year. He had passed away due to cancer. When I went to ESPN, when I worked at ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut, they've got this beautiful just hall for Stuart Scott, got pictures of him everywhere, right around the Sports Center building. Last time I was there, which has been some years, but it's just beautiful. That's the best I could do in paying tribute to Stuart Scott. The other thing that I can do is continue that man's legacy, telling you guys how much he influenced me. But what I'm telling you this for is to show you a real love for the game of basketball. I'm blessed, man. I've created a music platform that's through the roof and a sports one that's well on its way. I'm blessed to be in this position. I'm a kid from Memphis, Tennessee that all he had was a dream. Beautiful. That's why when people get on me about certain information that's maybe incorrect from time to time, look, it's no biggie for me. Simply correct myself and get better night to night. Some of the people that call me out, I know it comes from a place of just mad that they didn't follow their dreams. And they're mad they see this young dude, 27 years of age, on camera. Who does he think he is? Talking sports at an elite level, giving good highlights night to night. Who does he think he is? It doesn't bother me one bit. I rarely get even fazed by criticism or critiques, because if it's good criticism and fair, I adjust and get better. If I don't even deem it as fair, it literally goes in one ear and out the other. Sometimes it doesn't even go inside the ear. It just kind of bounces off. I bring all that up to say, this is real love. I'm in love with the game of basketball, and it's a blessing to be able to do what I do for a living. I don't believe that is the trend with sports journalism nowadays. Why do I bring that up? The other day, I saw a clip of literally the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen said about an athlete. This is not a hyperbolic statement. It is literally the most ridiculous, ignorant thing I've ever heard said. And it was made by a gentleman by the name of Rob Parker. That comment was made by him. He's from Michigan, I believe. He does a radio show with Chris Broussard. Now, again, I want y'all to understand this. I've worked on multiple debate shows. I've did highlights for these shows. There's a lot of work that goes into debate shows. Like, obviously, the personalities, it's up to them to put that research in, but they got researchers that they work with night to night, and there are people that work on these shows and create highlights. I know how much work goes into debate shows. I know how much work goes into radio shows. It's a lot, especially when you're dealing with older personalities that don't understand the tech side of it, right? I've seen it firsthand. I'm not disrespecting them by any means necessary with what I'm about to say. But for at least the talent's perspective, what I've seen over the last few years absolutely disgusts me. Rob Parker on FS1's airwaves compared Tom Brady, who is less than a week removed from his 7th Super Bowl championship, his 5th Super Bowl MVP. Rob Parker compared that man to Robert Horry of the NBA. Anybody who knows anything about Big Shot Bob, I'm a Los Angeles Laker fan. I mean, he won us a lot of games. To me, there's no way you make a top 50 Lakers all time. And though Rob Horry doesn't have the stats to back up, he's an all-time Laker. Off clutch shots alone, he made my favorite buzzer beater of all time, which is the one against the Sacramento Kings. I believe was that Game 6 in the Western Conference Finals that year. Laker fans, y'all know what I'm talking about. When Kobe drove and he missed, and then Shaq missed the tip in. It went out to Horry for the win. Yes, my favorite shot of all time. He made some big shots for the Detroit Pistons as well. And also he played with Hakeem Olajuwon. 7 championships Robert Horry has. But let's be clear. He is not the 43-year-old Tom Brady. Not by a long shot. Anyone with eyes could tell you that. Tom Brady has been the quarterback for 2 decades, mostly of the New England Patriots. For most of his tenure in New England, the credit was a lot of times given more to Bill Belichick. And then I believe towards the latter part, it became a 50-50 split between Coach Belichick and Tom Brady. Who's more important to that Patriots dynasty? Well, though that's an opinionated question, here is the reality. Tom Brady's first season away from that Patriots regime, he went to Tampa Bay and won a championship as a Buccaneer. That is a fact. That's a fact. Like, historically speaking, that's a fact. Okay. For Rob Parker to compare that man with all the NFL passing stats, and you know, he's atop a lot of those leaderboards, right? Stats all time. When it's all said and done, he's going to lead pretty much every stat possible for a quarterback. He will. And obviously, a lot of it is in part because he's been able to stay healthy for the most part of his career. But I'm giving him a plus. Health is a part of the game. Your best ability is availability. So I'm not knocking him because he's been able to stay healthy for longer stints than mostly everybody else that ever played a professional sport. He doesn't get an L for that. That doesn't tear down his legacy. No, that's a plus. There are a lot of guys, if they could still play, they would still be playing. You understand me? For Rob Parker to call that man Robert Horry, it literally epitomizes what I hate about the sports debate era. I think at the forefront, you have 2 personalities that have taken this thing that we love and taken it to places that I don't really love. Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. I've worked under Stephen A. Smith. I actually got to intern and follow him. I've done breakfast with Stephen A. Smith. Let's be clear. I have the ultimate respect for Stephen A. His popularity has made everybody think they can be loud and boisterous as Stephen A. Skip gets nasty. What Skip has done is attached himself to athletes, right or wrong, and no matter what the athlete does positively, he has now found a way to find the negative in an athlete. And it's crossed over from ESPN to Fox and Undisputed, where Shannon Sharp follows suit. And I love Shannon. I love Uncle Shay, but he also does the same thing nowadays. So when I see guys like Skip Bayless and Rob Parker, I think they've negatively enhanced the business. But you got to give Skip Bayless credit. This is his business. This is his business. He started this debate style. I was talking to Stephen A. one time, and Stephen A. told me, bro, give all the credit to me as a debater. Give it all to Skip Bayless. He started all this. I was a reporter, but Skip was the one that got me going in this field. If Skip, I wouldn't be here without Skip. He actually told me that he wouldn't work at ESPN without Skip. He actually told me that as a debater. But obviously, he went on to work with Max. So when Rob Parker makes a comment like that, for me, it tells me that it's more important to be wrong and loud than it is to be right and humbled. And that's bothersome to me. And you want to know what gets nasty about it? I have to admit this, being an honest person. There are more views today in watching people be loud and wrong than there are in people being right and humble. Earlier in the week, Max Kellerman, who was also known as a somewhat of a Tom Brady hater, I'll just say he was very hard on the legacy of Tom Brady. He even admitted, you know what? I was wrong. This man is the greatest of all time. If you were expecting Rob Parker to go on those radio airwaves and admit the same thing, you have lost your damn mind. He's actually doubled down on the disrespect. And instead of admitting that Tom Brady is the GOAT, he's now doubling down on it and comparing him to a role player. This is what I hate about sports debate journalism. It gives the entire business a bad rap. The entire business, for multiple reasons. The thing that bothers me the most is if you're not going to admit when you're wrong, there are no consequences. So if I can just get on this platform every day and scream, LeBron is the GOAT. LeBron is the GOAT. He's the clutchest athlete of all time. But then I don't come on here 3 days later when LeBron misses a shot. Or if I get on here and scream James Harden is not a clutch player, and he let's say the next 3 games he drops a buzzer beater to win the next 3 games for the Brooklyn Nets, but I don't admit that, what are the consequences? Right? That's part of the reason why people invest in the sports debate television. It's, I want to prove that my guy is right. And when you're wrong, I want you to admit that you're wrong. But when guys are not doing that, you think it would turn viewers off. But what we're noticing is it actually entices the basis of these platforms to double down and watch them even more. Go look at when Undisputed's ratings are the highest. Go look at when First Take's ratings are the highest. It's usually when LeBron wins or loses big, or that's with Undisputed. And with First Take, it's usually when the Cowboys, because Stephen A's not a Cowboy fan, when they win or lose big. Not a lot of unbiased critique and criticism. This is all, I'm riding with my guy, right or wrong. I'm riding with my hate, right or wrong. And it's proven to be a ratings draw, which is scary to me. The other thing that bothers me, outside of people not being able to admit when they're wrong, and there being no consequences when you're wrong, so you can just come on the platform and double down on the hate, but don't acknowledge your greatness. The other thing that bothers me is, for some odd reasons, former journalists turned media personalities think it's tougher to be a journalist than it is to be an athlete. Again, I'm 27. I want to be clear with you guys. My years as a on-the-road reporter were slim and none. I did it for a couple years. I realized it wasn't for me. I've been able to carve out my own niche on YouTube, which I think is a very interesting space. To consider me a full-fledged reporter that's on the road reporting on stories night to night, I wouldn't give myself that much credit, but I also would give myself a lot more credit than the person that comes on camera on these nationally syndicated television shows and just talks and talks. I do a lot more work than them, but I still want to give credit to reporters that are on the road every day. You got to kind of find a middle for me, because I am night to night doing highlights. Like, I'm not just a YouTuber coming on camera reacting to highlights. No, I'm actually doing what's done at ESPN night to night. I work there. I know exactly what's done. So you got to find a middle ground to give me somewhat credit, but also have respect for real reporters in the field. Figure it out, all right? That's where you'll find me, in the middle somewhere. I find it ridiculous that reporters, now turned media personalities, even remotely compare themselves to an athlete and what it takes to be elite at a profession. That's what bothers me more than anything. We've lost the love for athletics. We've lost the appreciation for being able to go out and dribble a ball for 20 years, throw a football for 23 years. We've lost the appreciation for night to night. Every time you watch one of these debate shows, but does he got a championship though? Did he win a ring? How come I can't go out and just appreciate Kyrie Irving's greatness on February the 11th? How come it's got to be about him winning a championship on February the 11th? Now, when it becomes playoff time, we can talk about those things. How come I can't appreciate Bradley Beal and what he's doing on the Wizards in December? Again, Does there need to be balance? Like, yo, he's putting up these great stats. His teams are not winning games. Yes. But does there need to be straight criticism about him never winning a championship? Russell Westbrook, that bothers me. Because if I can't watch Russell Westbrook and appreciate but be critical in the same sentence of his gifts and his talents, but also, acknowledge that it doesn't seem like his approach to the game of basketball is the most conducive to winning, we got a problem. A reporter's job night to night is not as hard as an athlete's. That is the truth. And trust and believe, night to night when I'm making highlights, I'm up to 5, 6, 7 in the morning every night of my life. Every night of my life. And I don't take it for granted. And I'm going to get on the road in the next couple of years as a full-time NBA reporter. Trust and believe. Trust and believe. As I get ready to gear up to take on that responsibility, my job still won't be as difficult as a Tom Brady or LeBron James. It won't be. And that's respect to everything that I got going. All due respect to Stephen A. Smith, we cannot compare that man to LeBron James of his field. It's disrespectful to athletics. Being in the gym, putting that work in. Just because you get to get on a camera and talk about that man's gifts, your job doesn't exist without that man's gifts. Without Tom Brady's greatness, your job doesn't exist. It is the reality. Newsflash. You want to know what pays your salary at Fox, Rob Parker, Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith at ESPN? It ain't the ratings that you draw for your debate shows or your debate ratings on radio. It is the fact that your networks have TV agreements with football and basketball platforms, professional sports and collegiate sports. Those TV deals are the bigger rating draws that pay your salary week to week. So show some appreciation to the guys that are paying your bills. You don't have anything to cover if athletes don't exist. And if you can't appreciate the greatness of an athlete night in, night out, and find ways to be critical, my question for you is, should you even be in this genre? Should you have the luxury of covering, of commentating, giving your perspective on sports night in, night out? When we got guys comparing Tom Brady to Robert Horry, we have to sit back and think for a second, where have we gone wrong, not only as sports debate television, but as society? When that gets more views than honest, unbiased perspective day in, day out. I understand that none of these sports lack the E for entertainment, but damn,